Friends, I'm Sharon Stanley, Assistant Professor, PG Department of English, Don Bosco College, Kottayam. In this lecture, I deal with the novel Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Fyodor Dostoevsky, a Russian novelist, philosopher, short story writer, essayist, and journalist. His literary works explore human psychology in the troubled political, social, and spiritual atmospheres of 19th century Russia and engage with a variety of philosophical and religious themes. His works explore such themes as suicide, poverty, human manipulation, and morality. Most of his works demonstrate a vision of the chaotic socio-political structure of contemporary Russia. His early works viewed society, for example, the difference between poor and rich, through the lens of literary realism and naturalism. Major characters in the novel Crime and Punishment. Raskolnikov is the protagonist. The novel focuses primarily on his perspective. He is described in the novel as exceptionally handsome, above the average in height, slim, well-built with beautiful dark eyes and dark brown hair. Perhaps the most striking feature of Raskolnikov, however, is his dual personality. On the one hand, he is cold, apathetic, and antisocial. On the other, he can be surprisingly warm and compassionate. He commits murder as well as acts of impulsive charity. His chaotic interaction with the external world and his nihilistic worldview might be seen as causes of his social alienation or consequences of it. Another important character is Sonia. Sonia is a daughter of a drunkard whom Raskolnikov meets in a tavern at the beginning of the novel. She is often characterized as self-sacrificial, shy, and innocent, despite being forced into prostitution to help her family. She becomes the first person to whom he confesses his crime. Sensing his deep unhappiness, she supports him. Throughout the novel, Sonia is an important source of moral strength and rehabilitation for Raskolnikov. Next character, Razumikin. He is Raskolnikov's loyal friend and also a former law student. He is upright, strong, resourceful, and intelligent, but also somewhat naive. He admires Raskolnikov's intelligence and character and supports him at all times. He looks after Raskolnikov's family when they come to Petersburg and falls in love with Dunya. Dunya is the beautiful and strong-willed sister who works as a governess. She initially plans to marry the wealthy lawyer Lucien, thinking it will enable her to ease her family's desperate financial situation and escape her former employer Svidrigailov. Her situation is a factor in Raskolnikov's decision to commit the murder. In St. Petersburg, she is eventually able to escape the clutches of both Lucien and Svidrigailov and later marries Razumikin. Lucien, a well-off lawyer who is engaged to Dunya in the beginning of the novel. His motives for the marriage are dubious, as he more or less states that he has sought a woman who will be completely beholden to him. Svidrigailov, sensual, depraved, and wealthy former employer and former pursuer of Dunya. He overhears Raskolnikov's confessions to Sonia and uses this knowledge to torment both Dunya and Raskolnikov. Porfiry Petrovich, the head of the investigation department in charge of solving the murders of Lizaveta and Alyona Ivanovna, who, along with Sonia, moves Raskolnikov towards confession. Unlike Sonia, however, Porfiry does this through psychological means, seeking to confuse and provoke the volatile Raskolnikov into a voluntary or involuntary confession. He later drops these methods and sincerely urges Raskolnikov to confess for his own good. Raskolnikov, a poverty-stricken student who conceives of a theory of the extraordinary man, who has the right or obligation to transgress the laws of the ordinary man in order to give a new word or idea to all of humanity. He uses this theory as a justification or rationalization to commit murder. Crime and Punishment, one of the great psychological crime novels. This book has probably never been surpassed in its field. Raskolnikov, the protagonist, is a student, suffering severely from poverty and ill health. His life seems thwarted and crushed. As a last straw comes word that his sister is contemplating an obviously distasteful marriage in the hope of bringing some financial benefit to her mother and brother. In a morbid state approaching delirium, he plans the murder of a repellent, aged woman pawnbroker who preys harpy-like upon such poor students as he. He rationalizes himself into believing that it is his right to kill the old woman on the ground that she is a parasite, in fact a positive evil in society, and that she hoards means which could be used to further his own progress in some constructive career. After elaborate preparations, he commits the crime. Utter panic overwhelms him, and the neat structure of his plan crumbles. The pawnbroker's sister returns unexpectedly, and he kills her as well. He fails to find the money chest and at last flees with merely a purse and a handful of trinkets. He hides his trifling hole under a stone and never touches it again. The book follows the course of his slow breakdown under the pressure of remorse. He begins to indulge in cryptic, suspicion-arousing eccentricities. In the course of the time, he enters into a prolonged intellectual game of cat and mouse with Inspector Porfiry Petrovich, with whom he is first drawn into contact socially. No account can do credit to the suspense and terror of the subtle conflict, known only to the two men involved. Inevitably, Raskolnikov is tracked down. Raskolnikov confesses to Sonia, an unfortunate girl whose family he has aided. She urges him to give himself up. At last, Porfiry extracts a tacit acknowledgement from him, but withholds arrest, advising voluntary surrender. Raskolnikov accepts this course and purges his soul. He is sentenced to 8 years in Siberia, where, with Sonia's love and loyalty, he struggles to remake himself spiritually. Assignment: trace out the character sketch of Raskolnikov.